Oh, hey there, I didn't see you. I'm just sitting here looking for a video idea to do today for the video. Now that you're here, I think I have a great idea. Okay. Legend of Zelda. So, the reason why I kind of want to do this video, it's kind of Saturday, you know? It's kind of Saturday. Is it Saturday or is it kind of Saturday? I don't know. But Zelda. So basically, they still haven't announced the anniversary yet. But you know what? It's still around anniversary time, so I wanted to do some Zelda content. So we're going to talk about my top 5 favorite Zelda games. And why I think that way.
So, quick disclaimer, these are my opinions. I'm not saying this is officially the best or Zelda game, so please respect and understand that. But let me know what yours are in the comment section below. We can have a talk about it. Let's do it.
So to get it kicked off, coming in at number 5 is probably The Wind Waker. So, why The Wind Waker? Why is it on this list? Why is it in my top 5? When I was a kid, you gotta remember the time. We really didn't have open world games back then. That wasn't really a thing. You had this whole ocean you could explore. And really as an adult now, since I was in the Navy for like 10 years, there's just a certain aspect of open ocean sailing that still appeals to me even as an adult with my life experiences. Now, I remember I was one of those people who was not happy about it back in the day, because I was like, what is this? Legend of Zelda Powerpuff Girls edition? Sorry about that, my computer was trying to talk to me, now it's muted. But yeah, like I felt like the art style, the cel-shaded art style looked a lot like Powerpuff Girls. I didn't necessarily like it. It kind of grew on me when I started playing on it, and I saw how like emotive that Link was. You know, he would look at things that were important, he would show emotions on his face. And then even as an adult, like when the HD versions came up, I just think Wind Waker aged a lot better than the other more realistic looking older Zelda games did. Like with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, they had to like completely basically remake it. The art style almost looks completely different now than it did on the N64. In Twilight Princess, whereas it still is good, there are cases like the end credits where when Link is riding Epona off into the distance, and it just kind of stops, because back in the day, they had a lot of like, the word's escaping right now, but like, they kind of made it a little foggy looking off in the distance, so you couldn't really see them anymore, but now that they'd cleared it up for the HD version, you could see the Epona and Link just like stop as they're riding off. The only reason why it's not higher on the list, I've always kind of had an affinity for either adult Link or darker themed Zelda games, and Wind Waker really didn't deliver on either of those. I still really do enjoy it though. Playing it, you get this really like kind of good feeling playing it. So I'm putting it number 5 in the top 5. Number 4. A lot of people are going to cry blasphemy. I already know a lot of people are not going to agree with my list. That's why I feel the need to explain all of my choices. But number 4 is Ocarina of Time. Many people think it should still be even above Breath of the Wild as the best game in the series. I'm gonna kind of talk about this more in number. But basically, whereas a lot of people, Ocarina of Time was their first 3D Zelda game and all that, mine wasn't. I played the other N64 game, Majora's Mask, actually first. Like I said, I'll talk about that more in general, but so my first experience was not Ocarina of Time. And compared to Majora's Mask, I don't know, I just felt like Link being himself was, it wasn't as dynamic, basically. I felt like I got kind of spoiled with Majora's Mask. I don't know, like Hyrule Field felt like very open and kind of barren. So, I know I'm kind of dogging the game right now. I'm just explaining why I'm not putting it higher. It's still like top 4 Zelda games of all time. I still really like the game, obviously. Things I liked about the game, though. I liked right when you left the forest, just how open and like a summer field it felt. Like, you could almost feel the breeze splashing across your face.
Phrasing?
As you went on Hyrule Field, and you went across it, you could see the sun. It was getting darker, and I was like, I'd never experienced that in a game before, other than maybe like Grand Theft Auto 3. But I didn't have Grand Theft Auto 3. We had to go over to my friend's house to play that. And I think the really cool thing is how you start off as a kid, especially when you play it as a kid for the first time when you're still a child in real life. When you play it as a kid, and then you end it as an adult. So like you pull the Master Sword out, you have the time skip in your adult Link. I don't know, there's just something about a coming to age story like that really kind of resonated with me at that point in my life. So I have it at number 4. Oh, wait. Also Epona. I know that was in Majora's Mask too, but I know Epona kind of felt tacked on in Ocarina of Time, and really Majora's Mask too. But there was something really cool about riding a horse. I remember when I was a kid, me and my buddy next door, my best friend next door, they had horses. We talk about like getting horses and stuff. I thought having a horse to ride is the coolest thing ever because of Legend of Zelda. So number 3. Speaking of blasphemy, Breath of the Wild. Yes, I know. I have the 2 that people would consider the best Zelda games ever made at number 4 and number 3. They're not even the top 2. But hear me out. I love Breath of the Wild. I love open world RPGs. I love Skyrim. I love The Witcher 3. I love these games. But that's not why I love Zelda. So I really do like Breath of the Wild. I don't know if it's the best Zelda game ever. And here's even as an open world game, right? It's very barren. There's not a whole lot, and the stuff that is out there, it's very copy paste. So you have all these the stables, right? You have the stables littered across Hyrule. They all look the same. And the people, the store managers are all the same. You have 2 towns of life in it. You have a lot of ruins, but other than the Zonai ruins, like all the ruins look the same. The open world could have used a lot more variance. I really still love the world. I think it's cool we finally got this big 1-to-1 scale Hyrule, right? We never seen that before in the game. And I love the freedom aspect of it. I love the physics. The physics engine's really fun. And the story that is there is really good. I love how they kind of put hints for all 3 timelines, so it kind of brings back that timeline theorizing era of Zelda before Hyrule Historia went and ruined it for everybody. But there's just something missing. There's just the stuff to do, like the Korok seeds. That's very Assassin's Creed-y. It's just a collection marathon. A lot of the stuff is copy pasted. The enemy variations aren't very much. You have a lot of world bosses, but there's only a handful of variations of them. And then really there's only the only enemies you got are Keese. And then you have, as far as the actual ground enemies, you have 2 types of the normal enemies. And then really how strong they are just depends on the color variation. They're palette swaps. And then you have the skeleton versions for at nighttime, obviously. They could have done a lot more. It just, I don't know. I have high hopes for Breath of the Wild 2. Hopefully, since the world and the engine and all that's already created, they can work a lot more in depth. And then also the dungeons were, you got Sheikah Shrine mini dungeons, which are very copy pasted, at least as far as aesthetics go. And then you have the Divine Beasts, which once again feel very copy paste as far as aesthetics go. And the puzzles, some of the puzzles are even very similar. And whereas I do like the physics engine, the fact that they give you all the tools you're going to need for the entire game, right at the get-go, just really isn't very Zelda-y, So I really do love the game. It's one of my favorite Switch games. I can't put it higher than number 3. Me personally. Number 2, Twilight Princess. As I mentioned earlier, I love the Zeldas with the darker theme or feelings, and I love playing as an adult Link. Twilight Princess hits both of these and passes with spades. Flying Colors. Now, a lot of people don't like it because of how similar the story kind of feels to Ocarina of Time, but I feel like the story in Ocarina of Time was really good. I didn't have a problem with it, and it has enough twists, enough variances with like the whole Twilight thing, the Wolfling transformation. They don't really use Sheik, like, you know, Zelda's just Zelda. Midna as your side character, who's actually a lot more helpful and less annoying than Navi. I think she's the best side character or support character in any Zelda game. And whereas the final fight, I'm not going to give it away if someone hasn't played the game for some whatever reason yet, but the final boss fight, whereas it may have been easy, it's still very like cinematic. It's still very fun to play. I just really love it. And I spent so much time in just Hyrule Field. I mean, there's some I didn't really talk about. I remember back playing Ocarina of Time too. Like I used to like simulate playing life and stuff. I used to like hang out at the ranch and pretend like Link and Malon were not Malon. Yeah, it was Malon. Like I remember I used to like hang out at the ranch and pretend like Link and Malon were like in a relationship together. And Link was like working the farm during the day, would hang out with her while she was sitting out in the middle of the field during night. Corny, I know. It's very corny. But I used to love doing stuff. Little just stuff like that. Just playing around in the world the way the developers didn't intend it to be played around. And I did a lot of that with Twilight Princess too, only with better graphics, a bigger map, bigger world and all that. Like, it was just fun to play around in. Now, a lot like Breath of the Wild, the map was a little barren. They could have done some other stuff. There are problems with Twilight Princess. It's not a perfect game, but it is my second favorite game in the series. And my number one game in the Legend of Zelda series is Majora's Mask. Here's why it's number one. It was the first one I played. Well, the first Zelda game I played was on the original NES, because I remember getting a Nintendo, an NES system, at a garage sale. A son of one of my stepmom's friends was getting a Sega Dreamcast, was trying to get rid of his NES and all the games, so we went and got like all of his games. And the original Zelda was on there, but I didn't know what Zelda was. I didn't know anything about it at the time. I play around with it. It was fun, whatever. Majora's Mask was the first one, I was like, I want this. I remember when I was a kid, in the mail, we got this VHS tape from Nintendo. It was basically just advertising Majora's Mask. But I remember looking at the box, it showed him like putting the Zora mask on, and he was doing the transformation. And I was instant like, what the heck? So I put it in and I watched it. For those of you who don't remember VH tapes, or VHS is what we used to watch movies on before DVD and live stream, or not live stream, but and like Netflix and stuff, streaming services. So the VHS basically was like a big promotional thing for the game. Man, I watched that thing so many times. I had a PlayStation at the time, but I remember mowing the lawn, saving up my money all summer, just so I could buy an N64 so I could play that game. So I bought the N64 was the first console I ever bought myself, that I didn't get for like Christmas or something. And then for Christmas, my parents ended up getting me the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and it was the one with the gold cartridge and the 3D label. Man, I loved that game. I never beat it. I don't think I ever actually beat Majora's Mask, but I fell in love with the world. I thought it was so cool how you could transform into a Goron, a Deku, or a Zora. And when I found about the Great Deity Mask, man, dude, we used to talk so much about in school, like rumors and stuff, the legends, like, oh, if you go to this room, you can turn into the Great Deity and leave, and so you can be Great Deity, not just in the boss room. Like, all kinds of crazy rumors and stuff. Talk about how to beat bosses when we couldn't beat them. And like I said, also, just like with Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, I'd play around in the game, like play pretend, like basically just play in the game the way the developers didn't intend. Man, I love that game, and I thought it was so cool too. Like, now, mind you, I hadn't played Ocarina of Time. I do want to preface this. Majora's Mask was my first 3D Zelda game. I found out about Ocarina. I only knew about Majora's Mask because of that VHS tape. Remember, this is the age before like the internet was what it is now and all that. Information wasn't as easy to come by back then as it is just to pull up my video you're watching right now, watch it. So I found out from a friend about Ocarina of Time, and I was like, wait, there's more? Like, it's not just Majora's Mask, there's more. So I played Ocarina of Time retroactively after I played Majora's Mask. So that's why Majora's Mask for me is number 1, not Ocarina of Time. I love Ocarina of Time, but it just doesn't hold the same nostalgic value as others because I experienced Majora's Mask first. And like just graphically Majora's Mask was better, you know, it required the expansion pack. Like Link's belt going across his chest that held his sheath for his sword and all that was actually rendered on his model, whereas it's not in Ocarina of Time. Like, it just looked a lot better. It looked a lot better. And I thought it was funner. I really liked the idea. Once again, adult Link or dark themes. And whereas it wasn't an adult Link, it was the continuation of the adult Link from Ocarina of Time. It's just he was sent back so he could live out his childhood. And it was definitely dark. Debatably, arguably, the most dark Zelda game. So I really loved Majora's Mask. And man, I want it on the Switch. I want Majora's Mask on the Switch so bad. Hopefully with the anniversary, that's why I want the anniversary, man. If we can get like Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, or we can get the Wii U HD games ported over, man, I'd be so happy. You have no idea. Anyways, that is my top 5 Legend of Zelda games. Let me know what your guys' top 5 is. Or you can discuss my top 5. Discuss anything I said about the 5 games. Let me know in the comment section below if you're liking my content. Please remember to like and subscribe to the video if you have not done already. And until next time, guys, this has been Solid Shepard, and I should go.